Welcome to Shots with Lexin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Shots with Lexin. I'm here with Mayor Pierre Leroux. Sorry.
Hello.
Hello. This will be an English episode.
Sure.
Pierre is very bilingual, franglais pure,
Yeah.
as you say.
Yeah.
But just to be fair, we'll always do a French and an English episode, and turns out this one is an English one, but it doesn't mean that Pierre is Pierre.
It's pretty much French.
So his drink of choice today was tequila, and he decided to go with a lemon. I'll respect him on that. Not everyone takes it pure. Do you want to do the honors?
Sure. Let's do the salt and
We'll do the salt. We'll do it proper. So we are not sponsored by Patron yet, but if you want to,
if this gets to an executive in Patron and you want to sponsor,
I would
perfect.
support it one day.
So-
Okay, so we got the salt. I am a bad tequila drinker and I never do it properly like this. Okay, so it's
lick the salt, take the
Tequila.
shot, and bite into the lemon.
Okay, lemon. It's a small lemon because you have
That's okay.
to take.
Cheers.
Okay, cheers.
So, full disclosure, I mentioned this to you earlier, but in my a few years ago, about 5-6 years ago, I had gastric bypass. So this one shot will get me drunk in about 2 minutes.
Amazing.
I'll go up, I'll get really drunk and it'll come down quick enough. But just so you're aware, my eyes will gloss over.
So
and
all the questions start right away, so we get all the answers that we want.
There you go.
And like you mentioned, it's a cheap type of drunk. If you only need to take one
Oh,
shooter.
definitely, yeah. I'm definitely a cheap drunk.
Have you tried drinking more ever since now that you know that this comes with it?
So it like I mentioned, it hits me very fast, and then it comes down. So it's continuously like as it's coming down. Oh, take another one. Take another one.
It's not a consistent jump
No.
up.
No.
Okay.
The nice thing though is I've had evenings where I've had quite a few, and the next day I don't feel it at all. I'm like, because it goes
No
through my
way.
system so fast, it doesn't linger. By the time I wake up in the morning, I'm fine.
So you don't have a hangover?
No.
Is that something that they sell you, like get gastric bypass? No hangovers after you drink?
No. It was
Selling point. You know?
It is actually when you go through the process of getting gastric bypass, it is something that they mention that it can be a concern because for food for a lot of people is an addiction.
Right.
And all of a sudden you could become addicted to alcohol. You could
Oh,
become
because you don't
alcoholic.
have-
Yeah. Yeah. So something for me, I've never been a huge alcohol person.
Okay.
So for me, it doesn't,
Affect much.
no, I won't get addicted to it, put it that way.
Okay. Do you think you have an addictive personality though? As someone who works a lot and does a lot, do you think you have that trait?
Yeah, I guess so. I get into the zone, and when especially into the flow as it is when my mind catches a nick of creativity or something, then that's all I can think about.
Okay.
And I'll just zoom in on that, and the perfect example is the fundraising activity I did for my election last year.
Okay.
Like that idea came to me at like 3:00 in the morning.
Of course.
And like it just wouldn't let go. It
It just made sense to you.
Yeah,
It made sense to you,
and I would be continuously thinking about it. I'd put it aside, and it'd keep coming back, and then I was like, there's something there.
There's something there. But so to give a little bit of context, if you don't know, I have to say maire because I'm so used to saying maire instead of mayor, which is the proper way. Or sorry, now I'm forgetting because the tequila is hitting me. What is the proper way to introduce you?
So Pierre is fine, but the titles for mayor in Canada is Your Worship.
Oh right, your worship.
Yeah, which is kind of unique. It's like I know like members of parliament. It's like ministers are like the honorable.
The right honorable. Yeah.
I'm like worship is so much better.
Have you ever had someone literally be like, "Hi, my worship"?
Yes, there are some people who have worked in government who know the protocols.
Okay.
And they'll be like, "Oh, hello, your worship." I'm like, "Pierre's fine." Like,
You should just wear a shirt that says it at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
like, I
yeah.
am your worship.
It feels good, but it feels weird.
Yeah,
right?
I can assume. So let's go back a little bit because I want to kind of pick at your brain before you were the worship of Municipality of Russell. You did a lot, and I'm sure I don't know all of it because I used to be one of your clients as a kid to go rent movies at Pierre Leroux. Yes. But I'm sure you've done a lot before that and how you came to that. So can you just give like a brief background of who you used to be or what you used to do?
Sure. So I grew up in Vanier. I went to André Laurando for my 9 and 12 and Immaculata for my 10 and 11.
Okay.
And then
is that private schools?
No, it's public schools.
Okay.
Sorry, Immaculata was Catholic.
Okay.
Actually, Laurando might have been Catholic. I don't know. I really didn't pay
All the
attention.
religions. It's
I gotta admit, learning, lifelong learning came later in my life. I had no interest in high school.
Okay.
I did my high school. Went into the workforce right away. Started working with Rogers Video.
Okay.
Yeah, and I worked.
Why video?
You know what? I'm a big geek at heart. My oldest sister worked for a company that was involved in videos.
Okay.
So I was always watching movies.
Yeah.
And then, so I started working for Rogers, worked my way up to manager.
Okay.
I was managing in, where was I? I would have been the manager in Britannia at the time, and we moved out to Castleman from Vanier.
Why?
Just because it was cheaper.
It was cheaper.
It was cheaper, and I had, we had our newborn son. We had a second one on the way.
Okay. You have three.
I have 3 sons right now.
Sons. Right now. Okay.
Right
now.
Oh,
watch out.
No, I'm done. I'm not happening anymore.
Just in case.
Just
in case. You wanted to specify.
So we had two, one and one on the way. When we were in Vanier, and we got broken into a couple of times, and I was like, nah, time to move.
Enough.
Which was like, me and my wife both grew up there, and we were fine growing up there, but we wanted better for our kids.
For the kids. Yeah.
So then once I was in Castleman, my work transferred me to the Canada store.
Oof, okay.
And I wasn't, I was not happy for the distance, the drive.
Pretty far.
Yeah, exactly. So my sister lived here in Embrum at the time. And so I was having supper at her place, and she said, and I was complaining about my job, and she said, well, why don't you open a convenience store? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, our friend owns the mall. There was a store there. And I'm like, okay. So I went to talk to him. I mean, I was only 24 at the time.
Yeah.
And, he basically told me, he said, look, he goes, it wasn't managed properly. That's why it shut down.
Okay.
I'm like, okay.
So there's potential.
There's potential.
Okay.
And I'm very much the type of person, I hate regret. Like, I don't want to go, I kept telling my wife, I know it's a risk, but I don't want to be sitting 20 years down the road going, oh, I should have tried.
Yeah.
I should have tried. So we decided to do it. And we were trying to figure out a name, and in my mind at the time, because I didn't know Embrum overly well, I was like, oh, it's a super French community, we'll call it Pierre Leroux.
Yeah.
And the name stuck.
Though.
It stuck, right? And then when I got here and I opened, I was like, I realized it was very much bilingual, right? Because I was like, ooh, a lot more English people than I was expecting here. But so we opened the store in 2001. And my goal originally was to just kind of open it and staff it and continue with Rogers.
Okay.
And
like a side hustle.
Yeah, basically.
A side thing.
A side thing, yeah. Okay. And basically, like 2 months in, I realized, no, I can't do it that way. I'd have to work it myself. Crazy. But I ended up working the first year and a half from 5 in the morning till 11 at night every day for a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's and when I started, because I was at Rogers, I was managing Rogers. It was right around the time that DVD was taking over from VHS.
Okay.
And
so you went through that whole transition.
At Rogers, it was already like over 50% switch. So I already had my DVD player, my collection, right? So when I opened the convenience store, I just had the 1,000 square feet store, and I put my DVD collection up on the wall. Okay. And people were like, oh my God, you have so many DVDs. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, there's 2 full-size video stores here. And they're like, they have no DVDs. And it was like, ding, ding, ding.
Okay, you're answering, that was the problem. That was the demand for DVDs.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So then I just spoke to the landlord, took over the other adjoining space, which he wasn't, he's like, he was a little worried because if I go under, then he's losing 2 rental spaces at once.
Right. But at the same time, it's better for him. He only has to deal with one tenant.
Exactly. So we did that, and like in no time flat, it just took off.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I was buying every week. I'd be like, oh, buy an extra couple of copies, buy an extra. I mean, when the first Iron Man came out, I had 120 copies of Iron Man on the wall.
Holy shit.
And they were all rented.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So for a little store in a little town, it was just nuts.
No, we were there every Friday night.
Yeah.
You picked your movies for the weekend, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I could easily on a Friday or Saturday night rent 500 movies. I had.
Oh my God.
I remember when the Independent opened up. They had 8 caches, and I had 6 at my store.
Oh my God.
That's how busy I was. So.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So I guess it was one of my questions. Like, did you consider yourself a successful entrepreneur?
Well, I didn't consider myself a successful entrepreneur in the sense that I was just doing it for me, what was best for my family to get through life, right? So I wasn't going around thinking I'm an entrepreneur. I was just doing what I needed to do.
You had a job in your mind.
Yeah.
It was just a job you created, and that's it.
Exactly.
'Kay.
So it was but I mean, the store had my name on it, right? So it was my reputation and
your face on it.
Exactly. So it was exciting time. I do miss a lot of it in some aspects.
To get the movies or the people or both?
Oh, it's mostly I just stream like everybody else now, but it was very much the people, the interactions. Like I still have interactions with people, but it's a different setting, right? Then it was non-political. It would just be chatting with people all day. I remember one person.
It's the relationships.
Yeah, exactly. I remember one person telling me, they're like, "You're like a boozeless bartender. Like we come in here, we tell you everything." I'm like, it's all good.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's why you're in the job of relationships now today too. It's a massive part of what you do as a mayor. Is to have relations. I'm sure it's very different.
Yes.
And how people approach you for movies versus
usually
politics.
Yeah, people usually when they approach me now, 9 times out of 10, it's because there's an issue with something, right?
I was gonna ask you, do people really feel comfortable coming up to you and being like, "Yo, bro, this is wrong"?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Some people are more considerate than others. I'll say they're like, "Hey, sorry to bother you with this. I'm having this issue." I'm like, "No problem." And some people, it's just like they have that idea. Well, I pay your salary. You're going to do what I do.
Okay.
What I tell you, and I'm like, yeah, it's not how it works.
It's not how it works. But so what made you go from, I know there must be so much background that we're going to skip over from like the transition and everything, but what made you go like, oh, I could totally be a mayor? Sure.
Yeah. So it is weird. It was actually, I had no interest in politics whatsoever in my life.
Okay.
I ran into the mayor of the day, and he made a comment to me that I wasn't impressed with. And I was actually playing poker with the buddies that night. Okay. So I'm sitting around the poker table saying, he said this, I'm not impressed. And one of my friends is like, well, why don't you run for council?
Yeah.
And I was like, I know nothing about politics. I know nothing. He's like, dude, it's a popularity contest. You own the local video store. You know everybody.
You know everyone. Relationships.
Yeah. And I was kind of like, he sort of planted the seed. The election was a couple of years away.
Okay.
And I mean, I was still in the fire department at the time.
Okay.
Here as a volunteer. And I was like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did the volunteer fire department for about 5 years.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So.
What did you not do?
Yeah. Yeah. Thinking back, I probably did a whole bunch of stuff. And, but no, it was, so he kind of planted the seed. And then when the election came around, it was interesting timing because I had been looking for a long time to open a store in Castleman.
Yeah.
So I put my name for the election. I said, oh, okay, I'll be able to run the election. And then the opportunity to open a store in Castleman came up.
Yeah, your second location.
Yeah, and I was like, so I ran the election and opened the second location
at the same time.
And what I did for marketing, I call it marketing at that point, is everybody knew who Pierre Leroux was.
Okay.
Nobody necessarily knew who Pierre Leroux was.
Okay.
So my first sign in my first election was the same color and font as the store sign. So it was, parents were actually telling me, they were like, who's Pierre Leroux? And their kids would catch it and be like, hey, that's Pierre de Fils. And then they're like, hey, you're right, it is the same.
It's the same guy.
So yeah, so I ended up, I didn't knock on one door for that election, and I came in second place by like 90 votes or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I got elected, and I remember the next morning being at the store, jumping on the internet and going look at the Russell website and going, maybe I should read their budget and find out how this works.
I feel like, okay, that's a little bit of entrepreneurship in you, though. That's like, we're gonna figure it out as it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was an adjustment for me when I got into the municipal setting. Is things are slower than the entrepreneurial side, right? Because at the store I was like,
you make the decisions right away.
Boom, gun. I have this idea. I was very much fly off the seat of my pants. I think it's a good idea. I go with my gut. Obviously I have a council now, so it's majority council. I don't make any individual decisions. Yeah. And it's a little bit slower pace.
I can imagine. That must be hard too, because you must have so many things you want to do, and you're like, this is right here, money's right there, it makes sense. Yes. But I have to wait for other people to think it's a good idea too.
Yeah, it can happen that way, definitely. But it is when I was councillor, I really got involved. I really started enjoying it. Okay. I actually, for the second election for councillor in 2014, I actually went back to school. I went to Algonquin in journalism because I'd always wanted to go to college. I started my family very young, so I never had that opportunity. I'm like, okay, I got this, council, I got down pat, store's doing well. And then in the middle of the election, the mayor passed away.
Right.
And then I was kind of like, oh my God, what's happening now? And then I didn't realize it, but he was big on succession planning. So when he was talking to people saying, and they would be like, well, who's going to take your place one day? Yeah. And he would say, me. Oh, okay. So all of a sudden I had like his whole team were looking at me saying, are you running? Because we're going to back you up. I'm like, so I had like literally 24 hours to make a decision. And then again, it was like, okay. If I don't do this, am I going to regret it? Yeah. So I ran, I won, dropped out of college. Okay. And
you went back though. You completed some other studies, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. So as I started the role of mayor, then it was another learning curve, and I fell in love more and more with the position. Okay. And the understanding of municipal government. So I actually took online courses since then through Dalhousie University, and I got a whole bunch of certificates in local government administration and my national level.
You got legit.
Yeah. So which was very useful, because I find the role of mayor and of councillors is very much playing a bridge between staff and residents. Okay. And I'm happy that I've learned the employee side of the job, so that way I can relate and understand what they're going through.
What they're doing too.
Yeah, and I can bridge that gap between the two sides.
So you're kind of thrown into it, low key. Like you were.
Yeah, it was never
the opportunity.
Planned. Yeah.
There you go. He said you would do it, so you better do it. Yeah. Or we're here if you want to do it. And then you're like, okay, I'll figure it out. And now you're here.
Yeah, and now I've been. This is my third term as mayor now. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Is there a limit? Like the president's.
Yeah, like the United States. Yeah. No, there's actually no limit. There's no limit.
You stay forever.
Well, I always say, as long as I'm having fun and people want me there. Yeah. The day I'm not having fun anymore, I'm gone. Like, I mean, if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, then what's the point?
100%. And I guess this is where I try to understand your perspective too, because I can't imagine the weight of your job, because you can't go around in the grocery store without people thinking like, I need to ask him for things, and when you mentioned it earlier too, the perspective that you're buying yourself like cookies and they're like, I gave you that money to buy the cookies, but technically it's your job. You get paid to do your job. Yeah. But there's such a perspective to your job that not a lot of people have in their own lives.
No, it's
because you're in a position of power and the position of politics that people see you, and you write these massive announcements and official letters when something happens in the community. You have to make those statements. Yeah. You get put in this position where people just see you as this
Yeah.
guy, not Pierre.
C'est ça. And it's interesting because sometimes people don't differentiate, right? Like the mayor of Ottawa, for example. You talk about press releases. You know, the mayor of Ottawa, he has a team that preps all that for him, right? I don't. Like, I'm the one who's typing everything. Like, I'll write it, give it to staff. Staff will put it on letterhead and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, everything's coming from me.
It's from you.
Right. So it can be challenging. My wife learned really quickly when I say, "Oh, I'm going to the store. I'll be back in a half an hour." It's usually an hour and a half because somebody's going to bump into me and have questions, and which is fine. I mean,
are you always ready for those questions, or do you get surprised sometimes?
Oh, sometimes I'll get surprised, and I tell people, look, like, I'm on the political side. I'm not on the operational side. So I don't oversee all the staff.
Okay.
I really run the meetings, and I'm like the face and the voice of the municipality, but I work on the policy, the vision, side of things.
Yeah.
We have a CAO that is in charge of all the staff and the operation. So if I know a lot of stuff, and I'll try and explain it if I can. But if I don't have the answer, I'll get the right person to contact you, and they can explain what's going on. Yeah, but it is. I don't see it as work. I guess because for me it's become like a calling now. So it's like it
made sense.
Yeah, it's like your passion for photography, right? Yeah. You don't necessarily see it as a job. It's just a calling, and you love it, and
it makes sense. It's your gut that's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah.
Because I see that you post. You have long days. Like, you wake up early. Yes. You're a pretty early guy.
Yes.
And I've seen lately that you've I know you've always offered it. I've seen it quite often to go on walks. If anyone has questions and they want to go on a walk with you and just ask you questions, I think that's so cool and very generous of your time, by the way. Because think about it, who else is like, yeah, come take my free time. Just take all of it. It's fine. Even me, I would be like, no, go away. There's a limit. There's a limit.
Well, there are. I mean, I do fit it into my daily schedule.
But still, it's very generous of you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's my role, right? I'm there to represent the public. So, and 9 times out of 10, probably more, like 99 times out of 100, it's just taking the time to explain something to somebody. They just don't understand.
They don't understand it.
And as soon as I explain it, they're like, oh, they might not like it.
Okay.
Right. But now they understand it, because that's
understand more your perspective too.
Yeah. And that's one thing I try and, make people realize is that, we always see the government as, it's a thing. It's a big organization. They're there to screw the little guy.
Yeah. Often people see it as a scary thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have incredible staff at the municipality. They're passionate about their jobs. They're passionate.
People from the community too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're there. They want what's best for the community. Right. But when you have 20,000 population, and you can potentially, and it's growing
like crazy,
and you can potentially have 20,000 people that want something different. Right. So we have to balance that. We have to balance the needs of the municipality versus the wants. And then we have to balance the wants of this person and that person, because somebody will say, well, I want that. Okay, great. Do you want us to raise taxes for it? Well, nobody wants us to raise taxes. Okay, good. Where am I supposed to take the money from? Well, you can take it from that department. Okay, great. But what about the person that's going to come and see me tomorrow that they're not happy we cut there and they're telling me to cut yours? Yeah. Like, it's really much finding a balance.
Yeah. And then people see you because you have this, the worship, because you are the worship. They assume that you're this singular person that makes all decisions, and it's all you sitting, alone in your bedroom, going like, okay, we do this today.
Yeah. It's not like that. Like the puppet master, right? Yeah. Like, oh, he's deciding everything.
This is what's going on in Alberta Wrestle today. Yeah. And that's I assume that's not what happens.
No, and I mean, and you see that a lot on social media, right? You'll see, I'm like anybody else. I look at social media and what are they saying? What are people saying? Because that's a good source of information.
It is. It can be.
But then, you'll see, it's springtime. What do people complain about? They complain about potholes, right?
Okay.
Right? That's
It's the time of the year.
It's the time of the year. And then, the mayor doesn't care. Really? Like, if I could fix every pothole in the city, in the township, I would. But that would probably take,
A while.
dozens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
And where am I going to get that? It's the same person who's making the comment who's going to scream and yell when I say, I got to increase your taxes 20% to fix everything.
Exactly. They just want everything. They don't see the reality behind it and the decisions that are implicated, and it just, for me, that what frustrated me the most is like I've known you before, either because your kids used to play bowling, and that my mom used to organize the league, so I knew you from that perspective, and then I met you as a professional, as a business owner in the community, so I had a different perspective of who you were, because I knew you as the dad of the kids that played bowling.
Yes.
So I never saw you as this like worship coming in to pick up his kids. So I more respected you as a dad.
Yeah.
And as a human, and that your job was to go into township and try to do as best as you can. Yeah. And then it just frustrated me. That's why I guess one of the reasons why I wanted you on the podcast so much is for people to understand that even though you have this massive, like not a facade, but this position or this job or these titles, it doesn't mean that you go to sleep at night being like, I'm a worship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm human like everybody else.
Yeah.
I have the same anxieties as many people do. Like, there's things that, it's, I try and be a very positive person. And then some days I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed. Like, something happens and like, it's just like, oh my God, like really, I have to deal with this, but I remind myself that those days are very few in comparison to the good days.
Yeah.
Right?
Is that your best way to cope with the difficulties that come with being such literally a public figure? And would you have any like tips, as I can't imagine I feel like I'm known because people recognize me for the yellow.
Yes.
But you are known, like you literally, and everyone wants a little bit of something from you all the time.
Yeah, no, it's, what, as I've built those relationships up over time, people, when I take the time to meet them, they're like, oh, you're really down to earth. I'm like, yeah.
They realize you're human.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I mean, I go around with a jacket that says mayor, not to show off that I'm mayor, but it actually opens the door for conversations. Like I've been standing in line at the Independent and people are like, are you the mayor? I'm like, yeah. Oh, really? I'm new to the area, can I pick your brain about this? And we have conversations.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's, but you're right, it's I guess it, I am a public figure. I always used to say I'm not a politician, because I always said I was a small business owner who happened to be doing politics.
Okay.
Technically, I sold my store, so I guess I'm doing this full time, so I am a politician.
You're a public figure.
I'm a public figure.
You can put your description as the worship on LinkedIn. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. No big title or anything, just your worship. That's it. And it was funny because bilingual community, and I have my mayor on my jacket, and then a buddy of mine's like, oh, you're like le meilleur maire.
Oh, the best.
I'm like, I didn't realize that though. You read it that way, but
that's true. No, you have to own that.
Yeah.
No, that's your title as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no, that's really cool. And I guess like, would you have ever thought like that you would be the mayor?
No, like I said earlier, I had no interest in politics whatsoever. I just, I was like everybody else, just trying to get through life.
Yeah, just trying to figure it out.
And my boys, a little bit younger than you, are trying to figure out their lives. I'm like, guys, I didn't figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't fall in love with what I was doing till I was like in my mid-40s.
Okay.
So it's
okay to not have everything figured out when you're 20.
Exactly. It's not about the end. It's about the journey, right? I know it sounds corny, but
no, it's quitting the climb. Miley Cyrus in my head.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's enjoying the voyage you're on and not worrying. Like, I mean, I have to give speeches at school, and I often say, like, picture life as a road. It's not straight and beautiful highway. You're going to hit potholes or dead ends, and
the darn potholes, man. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. And you're going to have to come back. Like it is what it is, and when we get to the end, whether you're, Jeff Bezos, who's the richest man in the world, or you're the guy living on the corner of the street, When you go 6 feet in the ground, we're at the same spot.
We're at the same spot. Yeah, you're all human at the end of the day, and you're trying to. My motto is that life is a joke. Like you literally decide if it's gonna be a good one, or a bad joke. Yeah. So to not take life as seriously, by you taking like waking up in the morning, you go to the gym, and do you still go to the gym? Or have you? I saw your look in your eyes of like, oh no.
I've so slacked off for the last 5 months, but
How do you have the time?
Well,
how do you have the time? Do you sleep?
I do. You like when I was like my normal routine or the routine I want to get back to is I usually get up about 3:30 in the morning.
Oh, why?
I'm at the gym for 4, and then I'm back home. By that time, my wife's getting up with the dogs and stuff. So then, I'm there to help out, and then I start my day. But I mean, I'm in bed at like 9:30, so I get a good 6 hours sleep. And if
good 6 hours,
good 6 hours. Yeah. And if I need to, I'll snag a cat nap here or there during the day. Yeah. But but I don't know. This winter, I don't know if it was the lack of sun or what, but I just got
couldn't bring yourself to it.
I wasn't motivated, and I was just like, oh man, like the off day here. But I'm starting to get back. You
need to listen to your body too.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't. You do a lot in a day, man. Like I can't imagine. Well, like sleep well, just get home and douche.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. When I'm on that routine, it doesn't take me long to fall asleep.
No, it makes sense. Oh, but well, thank you so much, Pierre, for taking your time. That is very valuable, and I'm sure people appreciate it to kind of see another perspective. I mean, I bring you on here not necessarily as a political figure, just as someone that I know that I respect. That you've done great things. You've done amazing things for the community. I mean, Embrun is my home, my hood. I call it my hood, and people are like, it's not a hood, Nixon. You can't call it a hood at all. I know amazing things are coming. I'm sure you have a million things on the go to kind of figure out for the community. But
there's, it's funny because, some people at the office, they're like, you're the good idea fairy. I go, I know, I have all these good ideas, but we have limited resources, right? So I'm like, that's okay. I'll deal with it.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
I always say, as a council, we're there for the vision. Mm-hmm. We put the vision in place and then, give staff the ability and the resources necessary to make it happen. So, but no, definitely the community is in full growth mode.
It's in massive growth mode. We're thanks to you and everyone that works in the municipality. It's the best place to invest right now. Thank you. Thanks for the real estate value. Helps. Yeah. But it's just I wanted to make a point too that as some people can see it as me bringing you as a political figure, but I really want to make it clear that it's just someone that I respect. So I hate the perspective of because you're friends with this person, it means that, that I'm 100%, politically supported, which is more like I'm supporting that you're doing an amazing job. You're doing so many great things. You're doing the best that you can. Your life is a great joke, It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, congratulations to you. I mean, you've done amazing with your business and I follow you on social media. I see all the things you're doing and it's, I mean, you're a success story yourself, right? Yeah, I mean,
thanks. We try.
This is new. This is a new endeavor, and
it's the shots talking, huh, Pierre? What's going on?
No, I'm already on the downside, right? So it's all good. It's all good. So no, I think you have that entrepreneurial spirit. And it's evident, and you're having fun, and I think that's the perfect mix.
You gotta take a few shots from time to time. You gotta take your shot at life too. It's cheesy. I like cheesy too, even though I'm lactose intolerant. But anyways, thanks so much, Jeff, for coming.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone for listening to this episode. I hope that you learned something today, and that you appreciate that life is a joke. Make it a good one.